Well, there we go. I think we are live. We've got a couple people coming in. I'll get into introductions and all that stuff here in a minute, right? We got our webinar coming up here about kicking high costs, and I'm super excited about that. We're going to give it just a couple minutes just to make sure we've got everybody who wants to join. We're not leaving anybody out, right? Nobody likes to be left behind, so we're going to wait a minute or two. But I'll tell you what, while we're waiting for some more people to jump in for our webinar, why don't you guys do me a quick favor? Drop in the chat where you're from. What's your name? Well, I'll see your name probably, right? But maybe where you're from. What's the name of your business? What kind of business are we talking about? And, let's go ahead and see who we've got joining us today. And we'll learn a little bit more about you guys. And then we'll share a little bit more about who we are, right? All the cool faces on the screen. We'll talk about that a little bit. But do me a favor, drop in the chat there. Where are you guys from? Where are you coming from? And what's the name of your gym if you've got one? If you don't have one, that's okay too, right? Easton. Hey, Pete, what's going on? Pete, I drop into the Centennial location of Easton on the regular when I'm in Denver because it's between the Denver Zen Planner office and the airport, and they've got a shower. So I drop in there. Don't tell my hotels, but I tend to swipe a towel. That way I have a towel when I go to the jiu-jitsu. I love some of you guys as coaches and trainers out there. Met some wonderful, wonderful people, had some phenomenal roles. Love going to the Easton locations. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us there, Pete. Really excited to talk about this. Cole, are you excited to talk about all this stuff?
I'm fired up. I must say as well, Ben, I started my own jiu-jitsu journey 3 months ago. So yes. I'm a bad white belt. I've learned
spazzy white belt.
I've learned there's still a really wide range of white belt, but I'm hanging on. So
there you go.
I'm excited to, I swore to my other gym mates that I won't talk about insurance during class, but after class is fair game. So this is great.
I get that. It's one of my favorite things because I obviously, friend, we'll talk about this all here in a minute. I love the space. I love the martial arts business space, the fitness business space. I've been in this space for a long, long time, and I just love those conversations. And don't get me wrong, I understand that insurance is maybe one of the most riveting things that we can discuss on a regular basis. Maybe. But I am, it's always good to learn a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's very much one of the functional components of starting and owning any business. So we're trying to take a little bit of the pain out of it, which we'll spend time on here today. But
awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and start with that. So we've got to meet you guys in the chat a little bit, right? And let's go ahead. I want to introduce officially who we've got joining us today for Kicking High Cost, and as we talk about insurance. And I've got Cole, the CEO of Authentic Insurance. Cole, tell us a little bit more just about who you are and what you're excited to talk about today.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I founded Authentic Insurance almost 3 years ago, and the goal is to really simplify and make insurance less painful for small businesses. That's from a cost standpoint, but also making sure folks have the proper insurance. So what we do is work with folks like Zen Planner that serve a very specific community, and we craft the optimal insurance product on the back end, and we deliver it through the Zen Planner experience, right? So folks don't have to leave Zen Planner. They don't have to deal with State Farm or Liberty Mutual call center representatives. They can do everything in their app. And then they can also know that it's built for the fitness industry.
That's great. Do you guys have any really cool commercials where it's like, who is that Steve? She sounds hideous. No.
Most insurance companies, I think State Farm spent over $1 billion on advertising last year. So we're taking a little bit of a different approach where we're spending all of our dollars on building the product and really slick integrations with folks like Zen Planner, so we don't have to go run a ton of commercials in order to find customers. So we don't have our Jake from State Farm yet.
Well, listen, I bet for everybody that's watching this and for all of our Zen Planner customers and all the customers that you're serving, especially in the martial arts space and the fitness space, I'm sure they would really appreciate the savings that you guys can pass on. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah. $1 billion on a really funny commercial or save me some extra change in my pocket. Like, I'm probably going to go with the saving the money thing. So
exactly.
All right. And for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Ben. I am the vice president of sales here at Zen Planner. Not only am I the VP of sales, I'm also a customer, have been a customer. I owned a jiu-jitsu or a CrossFit gym for about 7 years in San Diego. I'm actually about to step into, I believe, a jiu-jitsu business ownership role. Really excited about that. Cole, for anybody that's into martial arts, is also, if you missed it, is a brand new Spazzy white belt. We're super excited that he's here. And I am really just a big dumb animal who happens to maybe be a purple belt. So really excited to talk about all this stuff and to dig in. And let's lay out real quick the things that we are going to discuss as we talk about this super interesting field of insurance, right? Well, we got to definitely cover why insurance is so important. We're going to go over the risks that you guys, right, our customers, the Zen Planner customers, those small to medium businesses that really America is built on, right, the backbone of our economy. We're going to talk about some of those price-saving ways that Cole mentioned. They don't have super expensive commercials, but they want to make sure you guys save on your fees. We're going to talk about a couple customers who have already switched and what they've saved, which is, I'm actually pretty excited to go into that. We're going to talk a couple, hey, this sounds great. What do we do? And then we're going to open up for a little Q&A, and that way Cole and his team can answer anything. I can maybe help out in any way possible. I also just want to throw this out there. If you've got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Super happy to answer them as we're going through, or we can scroll back and look at those during the Q&A. So without any further ado, I mean, really, at the end of the day, my question would be, why is insurance so important? And Cole, I mean, tell me a little bit, just in your words, as somebody who's obviously in the industry, what is one of the most important things about having insurance?
So not only is insurance required typically by your landlord, or if you're a franchise, it's in the franchise agreement. And most people view insurance as something to just fulfill that requirement. But that's usually the people who haven't had a claim experience or have had an accident where they then call their insurance carrier. And I think anyone who has had someone get seriously injured at the gym, someone who sues the gym for some type of liability, maybe they've had a flood or a fire and all of the equipment in the gym goes away. That's when people really learn the value of insurance, which is really a contract and a promise to pay from a hopefully trusted party. And so,
facto, Cole.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Ben. And so, I do think, and part of the reason on this webinar is to, kind of urge people to actually think about who they're dealing with when they are entering into this contract, right? Because it's never until you have the flood or have the fire that you think about insurance. And then that's when it's really important to have the party who knows and understands your business type, right? A lot of times, if folks aren't specialized in the fitness space or martial arts space, they will not understand your business and therefore not tell you maybe if some things are excluded, right? If there's certain, mold or fungus exclusions, and that's something that, caused rotting in your walls. If they didn't understand the fitness space and knew that that was a potential risk, then someone might call you or deny your claim, right? And so you really do want to think through, okay, what are the risks of my business, liability, property, and am I getting covered for the use cases that might come up in my industry, right? Which is
Yeah.
somebody getting hurt, my equipment getting damaged, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, so my dad always told me, insurance is, it's in case happens, right?
Right.
And I have been really fortunate. I've only had to use an insurance claim once, and it was for some equipment that really a part of a wall fell, broke some equipment. Wasn't a big deal, super simple process for me, but it was one of those things I remember sitting there. Because it's one of those things like we pay for this and you're like, like I'm paying out thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And then when that whole thing happened, I'm looking at all the equipment I had to replace and fix and all this. And it was over $10,000 in equipment. And I like really sat there for a minute. I was like, man, I'm so glad I have this. I'm so glad I adulted a little bit and got some insurance, right? And that allowed me to, at the end of the day, save a lot of hassle and money and stuff like that.
Yeah, I imagine a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 claim is pretty important to most small business and gym bottom lines. So
yeah,
that's a great point, Ben.
Yeah. So why is it hard? You were talking about some of and I don't want to refer to like the big guys or like, oh, we don't talk about them, right? But the people who don't know the fitness industry, why is it hard to kind of for them to understand what it is that we need in the CrossFit gym, the personal training, the martial arts school? What's the difference there?
Yeah, great question. It really comes down to, if you think about the day-to-day operations of the gym or in the CrossFit space, this is a great example. Most carriers, if you read the fine print, will exclude any type of fitness event. And if you have folks that are coming for, small CrossFit events, that technically would be excluded if somebody got hurt. And so unless you really know and understand the industry, it's hard to build the policy the right way to say, hey, we're going to cover all events under 100 people. And then if you want coverage for events over 100 people, it's an extra $50 or $100, for example. Large carriers that are billions of dollars and sell through traditional agents, they don't really take the time to craft the policy that way. And I will say as well, at Authentic, in partnership with Zen Planner, we do have large carriers behind us as well. So I don't mean to say, we don't have the balance sheet capability. We certainly do, but we're essentially kind of the middleman that crafts the policy and creates the experience for X industry, in this case.
Gotcha. So, and I just want to make sure I understand this because I am a bit of a big dumb animal, right? So if I were to say just have a regular insurance policy through one of those other big guys who didn't go through the efforts, I could have a group of people coming into my classes on a regular basis, and then we have a seminar, right? Where there's a bunch of people coming in, maybe some people from outside my facility, but because that's considered an event and somebody gets hurt, that may not get covered, even though they come to my regular classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it depends by carrier. So I don't want to say like a blanket statement, but that not only are there certain exclusions for certain carriers, like you just outlined, there are also a lot of carriers that have felt the pain in other industries and are therefore increasing the prices across their entire book significantly, right? So this is public news, but it came out 5 or 6 months ago that Markel, which is one of the leading business insurance carriers in the fitness space, is actually exiting the fitness space. And so, they felt a lot of pain in the property with all the natural disasters that have happened the last 4 or 5 years. And so they're pulling out of a lot of markets. And up until deciding to pull out, what they did over the last few years was raise prices or add exclusions. And, I think the example you gave is we've seen that specifically with a few carriers, not every carrier, but that is why it is so hard, to your point.
Well, so now that that really kind of opens the can of worms for me on like, what are the other risks that we could face, like on a day to day, like I know that there's a lot of different things out there for the risks that we face every day, but what are some more of those specific ones for that?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about classes. We actually offer within the policy that we've created with you all, we've got nutrition and dietary supplement coverage. So if you're selling shakes or supplements at your gym, that's typically not included. We offer that as an add-on. There are individual trainer coverage. So a lot of times if folks are a 1099 trainer, they might not be on the master policy, but think they're on the master policy. And all of a sudden they're not really covered if they've given poor advice and they're the ones who get sued. And we've also created specific policies for cage fighting. So that's typically excluded, like anything within a cage. Boxing oftentimes is excluded, or the price seems to jump 4 or 5x once you check the boxing box. So I think that's really the unique thing that we've done is we've kind of gone through the industry and all the Zen Planner customers and have said, okay, what are the day-to-day risks for a jiu-jitsu facility? What are the day-to-day risks for a CrossFit facility, right? We talked about events. What about cage fight? Okay, we need to address all these individual problems. And when we share the link at the end of this webinar, you'll see in that drop-down, right? There's all the different classes, and we've kind of crafted the policy in mind with what you all do day to day.
Gotcha. You're telling me that there's some risk in cage fighting? I really I'm going to disagree with you. I think maybe on that one a little bit. The last time I got punched in the face numerous times, it was totally okay.
Yeah, no, you leave skipping out of the facility, right?
Yeah. I think my brain might have been skipping a couple beats, but yeah. All right. Well, so there's definitely risks that are out there. And then you guys really, from what it sounds like, you really go through in a very kind of like with a fine-tooth comb and say, okay, here's how we're going to craft the policy to fit your facility specifically based on some of the classes and stuff like that, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we do.
And the groups that don't do that, they tend to have a lot higher prices, right? And that's where we really want to, what can we do to save our customers? You guys do that by building those custom plans. Is that right?
That's right. That's one way we do it. I think when we find savings, we're really happy to, find extra dollars for the small business to put in their pocket. But a lot of times people assume, oh, well, it must be a cheaper policy, right? That's not necessarily true. A lot of times folks will say, oh, you might have cage fighting, you might not. So let me just put you in this broad strokes category. And then you're paying $10,000 a year, right? Whereas if you're just doing jujitsu, but no boxing, we have created a separate policy for that. So you're not paying like your boxing or cage fighting, like a lot of people are, right? And so the more nuanced you get, the more accurately priced you can be. And what we found is with generic carriers, a lot of these CrossFit gyms or jiu-jitsu facility, they're paying for the most risky gym class, right? Whereas they deserve their own class. And that's really how we're finding a lot of people savings. And in the traditional brokerage space, if you are working with a broker, right, they typically get paid a percentage of the size of the policy. So, we work with you guys, and there's going to be a lot of policies that are sold kind of through the system, whereas a traditional broker working one-off, they might be a little bit more incentivized to have you buy that $10,000 or $12,000 extra coverage that puts you in the most hazardous class. But really the savings that we're finding are because we're creating these nuanced policies. And I would say we're more accurately pricing the risk.
Okay. So I think you hit on something that I've definitely thought about, right? As we've been talking about this, I'm like, oh, okay. So you're kind of making sure it's this and that. It's cheaper. So maybe it's not the same coverage or something like that. Are you saying just for the most part, because you guys are so specific, that you guys can match the current coverages or even do better than that?
Oftentimes, yes. I mean, I think we've seen it and we'll go over it when we talk testimonials, but we've found a lot of savings and better coverage. And what does better coverage means? Including events, higher limits, right? Like these are the things that I would say provide a better, more holistic insurance policy. So we have found cheaper and better. we oftentimes urge folks, if they're unsure, like send us your existing policy and we'll take a look and do a side by side and make sure we say, hey, we saved you $500, and yes, the limits are the same. We include this. And the reason we were able to find you that $500 is because we have a separate risk class code for jiu-jitsu, whereas a typical carrier just puts you in a max risk class, but they haven't underwritten the jiu-jitsu gym appropriately. And so in a lot of cases, same coverage, cheaper. In some cases, cheaper and even better. But
Gotcha.
we're very much, not just trying to sell the cheapest possible policy across the board. It's all about selling the right policy, which seems to also be saving people money, which is nice.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I get that, and that's really like what one of my concerns would be as a former school owner and as a soon to be school owner, is looking at and just making sure that, like, hey, obviously I want to share some money when it comes to my policy, right? I'm a small business owner. Every literally dollar I can save is better, but at the same time, I want to make sure that those coverages and stuff like that align.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get just a little bit of help. If we can just go forward a slide or two, even, because you said that you shared a lot of, you had a lot of people save a bunch of money, right? And so tell me a little bit here. Primal Ground saves 70%.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Wow. I mean, what is like,
and
I don't, that's a lot.
Yeah, that we were really excited to find Primal Grounds so much savings. I think a couple different things can happen, right? If you've been with a carrier for a little while and maybe you haven't been paying attention, a lot of them raise rates a lot, especially 15-20% every year for 5 years.
That starts to add up.
That starts to add up quite a bit, and so you'll get a lot of people who will sort of try and sell you on that year one rate, and then you turn around in year three and you're paying double, right? So we've seen that in a number of instances. And then back to the example I've given a couple of times, a lot of carriers, if you're not a very vanilla gym, they just throw you in the highest hazard class. And so you didn't get the $1,000 policy, so now you get the $10,000 policy. Well, what about the $3,000 policy, right? That doesn't really seem to exist for a lot of folks. Yeah. And so that's sort of what we've created, is this, spectrum of policies. So you're not just paying 1 or 10, right? You can pay 3, 5, 6, depending on, wrestling, cage fighting.
What's going on. Yeah.
And so, I think that's one of the reasons we've found, upwards of 50% plus savings in some cases. Like here, we saw 70.
Wow. And now I think if we can go one more slide, we had another person, because you were saying some figures there, West Coast Martial Arts, they saved over $1,000, right?
That's right.
I mean, like $1,000, like that's literally, that could be payroll for a school for a whole month, right? And they saved that over the course of a year. I mean, that's a huge, huge win.
Yeah, we were. I think we'll find a lot of savings, and even if the savings is $300 or $400, I mean, we've built a lot of features that make it really easy for people to switch from their existing carrier. So if you're worried about the friction of switching, one, typically insurance carriers have to refund you if you cancel a policy midterm. I say typically because if it's in the first month, sometimes they make you go 2 months. But typically that holds true. And then what you can do is actually tell Zen Planner Insurance who your old carrier was, and we'll actually cancel the old policy for you. So the $1,000 examples are great. A lot of folks, we found $500, $600, $700 in savings, and then it becomes a no-brainer when it's $1,500 savings, and you just have to tell us who your old carrier was, and boom, you're switched. But yes, the dollar amount is real, in addition to the exciting percentage that you showed before.
I mean, talk about a white glove experience. So I just want to make sure, like, I've got this all storied out in my brain. So if I go to zenplanner.com, right, and I click on that second tab right there where it talks about features and stuff like that, and I get to the Zen Planner Insurance, so we'll drop a link here in a minute too. But if I do that, and I reach out to you guys, we will connect, and you'll go over, here's what you offer. Okay, here's what your plan is. And then I just need to tell you that, hey, I'm with Jake at State Farm. You guys will handle my old policy, right? And save me money all at the same time?
That's right. That's right. And I do, urge people to check out the experience. It's very clean, easy, intuitive to at least go in and get a quote and see what those initial savings are. We typically see people grab that quote in about 2 minutes. We ask you your name, how many people work at your company, your estimated revenue, and all of a sudden a quote fires out. And then you can talk about it with your business partner. You can call us to do a coverage comparison. You can email us or chat us. But that is the idea, to make it much easier versus calling the Liberty Mutual call center, right? It's certainly a little bit of a different experience than that.
That's phenomenal. I mean, like I said, so for those that are listening, you can literally just go to zenplanner.com, right? And you click on the, I was just looking at it. It's on the products page, that second tab. You click on it, and then it says business insurance. You fill a couple things out, and it literally helps you show you how much money you could be saving. I mean, it seems like, I don't want to say 15 minutes could save you or anything like that. I don't want to. But it seems like a pretty quick process, and I could save some serious dough. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, 2 minutes and you can check out how much the savings are. And you can also talk to us about your day-to-day operations and make sure you're covered. I think, people buy insurance for peace of mind, right? And that's sort of why we built this Zen Planner insurance program, is so we can create peace of mind for the CrossFit, the jiu-jitsu, the martial art fitness owners, because we actually understand the day-to-day and what the risks are. And so even if the policy isn't, necessarily saving you $1,000, we'd still love to help you out and see, hopefully we can save you some money. We certainly have been thus far, but also just to let you know that you're covered in terms of martial arts risk.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So I see that Sarah has already, thank you so much, Sarah. Sarah shared, if you don't have time to go to the website and stuff like that, Sarah shared a quick link in there that'll actually take you right to the process. But really, at this point, I feel like we've covered of everything and how our customers can make a real simple switch, save up to, $1,000, maybe more, maybe a little less, but still hopefully save some money, but really have that peace of mind to know that they're 100% covered on everything that it is that they're doing. Because I can tell you that I would be so upset as a business owner if I was like, we were doing a class, and then, Thomas over here was doing the kickboxing class, and he got, punched and cracked a couple ribs, and he needs help with that. And they're like, oh, we don't have you down for kickboxing.
Right.
I'm like, oh, no, but we talked about that. Like, yeah, but we don't have you in kickboxing, so you're not covered anymore. I'd be
Exactly. And those horror stories exist, unfortunately.
Oof, that's terrible. Well, I'll tell you what, thank you so much, Cole, for coming on and sharing not just so much about why this is important, why insurance is important, but helping the Zen Planner customers save money, helping the industry. And really, that's where I'm a huge fan. It's, rising tides lift all boats. I really appreciate all the efforts that you guys have done here at Authentic to help out those small to medium business owners. Like I said, the backbone of America. Any last couple words that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Thank you, Ben. It's been awesome working with you and the Zen Planner team. And you hit it on the head. I think all we're really trying to do is change how people buy insurance. And instead of buying insurance because you saw the State Farm commercial and they're a really big brand, you can now buy insurance that's tailored for the fitness industry right through Zen Planner. we just feel like that's not only a more personalized experience, but it's already in your operating system, it's online, and hopefully we can save you money as well.
That's awesome. Well, team, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. For our viewers and listeners, if you're watching now or in the future, hello, future you, please click the link, reach out to the team. Super excited. Oh, awesome. Peter's going to reach out right now and put in for a quote request. That's awesome. But hey, everybody, have a great day. And if you need anything at all, please reach out. You can hit me up. Ben.Timm, Timm, at zenplanner.com. Cole, you can be reached at Authentic Insurance. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm at Cole at AuthenticINS.com. You can chat with anyone on our team. You can also email me directly, and really excited to help some folks out.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. You guys all have a great day. Cole, thank you so much for joining us, and you have a great day, and I'll talk to everybody later. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.